So she comes over on 10. She's like, all of them. She's like, detain all of them. Tickets. She's like,
you get a ticket, you get a ticket, you get a ticket.
Head that mash up, girl, you know fi do your thing, you know take back charge. No fi do your thing. Head that mash up, girl, you know fi do your thing, you know take back charge. Oh, your friend just a try, watch me style, and him on me a tick. Me know me get spoiled, oh, you mean my thing concrete. 5 minutes, 4, 7 days.
okay. Hope I don't break the damn chair, because Lord knows the pressure on this thing right now. So, story time. Almost being arrested while abroad. My God, what did I say? Okay. I was in Nassau, Bahamas recently. I went away for Christmas on a family trip, and we went on a cruise. So, long story short, I brought my dog with me, and on the day that we docked in Nassau, I had some issues with getting her cleared. So I ended up just a little bit more late getting off the ship than the rest of my family. So they had gone or whatever, and we were supposed to just meet up outside of the ship once I got everything straightened out with her. So I did, and we had previously discussed what we were going to do when we got to the different islands, but of course, people just procrastinators, so we never booked our excursions prior to getting there. So the day that we actually docked in Nassau was kind of up in the air what we were going to do. So I was under the impression that, we'd be back at the beach, because this was our second stop. We'd be at the beach or swimming with dolphins. We had talked about things like that, going to Atlantis, which I had already been to Atlantis, but not like the water park side of it or whatever. So I get my dog cleared and we leave the ship, and I'm just walking through at the port where you get off, and then you come out, and then there's these little shops and things, people trying to sell you things, people trying to give you taxi rides, people trying to sell DVDs. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't see any DVDs, but pretty much like that. It was very hectic. Like anyone who's from New York or been to New York, kind of like a Times Square situation, like where the ship docked was in the middle of everything. It was so much going on. So I'm just walking past all these stands. Now, mind you, I don't know why my phone had so much trouble with service, because previously when I had been to the Bahamas, I didn't have service issues, but this time it was just not working. So I couldn't call my family and see where they were. So it was just me and my little dog Harlow, navigating through all these shops and things. So finally I get service. I speak to either my mom or my brother, I can't remember. And they're telling me how to get to where they are. So they tell me where to meet them. I come over, and my mom's like, yeah, so they, meaning it was my two brothers and my dad. So she's like, they want to do these bikes. They're over there getting these four-wheelers, and we're going to ride them. So I'm like, okay, bet, whatever. So we go over, and I'm checking out these things, and I'm like, I definitely should get a four-wheeler because of the fact that I had my dog in her little carry bag, and I didn't want to risk falling off of one of the little mopeds. It just seemed more dangerous. Plus I had on a sundress, a skirt or whatever, and a swimsuit. It just was not working. So the bikes were $75 and the four-wheelers were $150. So I'm looking around, I'm like, I don't want to spend my $150 that I got in my pocket on a four-wheeler when it was, I can't remember who got the four-wheelers, but anyway, other people in my family had four-wheelers. So I'm trying to bum a ride with someone. I'm asking my brother, I'm like, hey, do you want to get this four-wheeler with the two-seaters and we could split the $150? And he's like, no. He's got his backpack on, all his stuff ready. He's like, no, I'm just trying to do my own thing and while out. So I'm like, fine, I'll just get the bike, because I was determined not to spend $150 on a four-wheeler. So I get the bike, everything's fine. The guy teaches me how to ride it. I'm like, not my first choice, but it's really not that serious to ride those mopeds. It's fairly easy. So I'm thinking, okay, we'll take these out for a little while and then we'll go to the beach. So we get on those god darn things, and immediately when we pull out of the area where we rented it from, I'm just like, this is gonna be a problem, because what happens, my dad and my two brothers take off, and my mom was with my dad, so I'm just trying to get into traffic. I'm like, damn, this was probably not a good idea. So That's fine. We're riding. I don't even attempt to catch up with them. I'm just trying to, the guy who taught me how to ride it, all that was ringing in my head is he told me there was 2 brakes. The brake on the right side was your back brakes, and the brake on your left side was your front brakes. Now, if you mistakenly jerk on the front brake, your bike is going to go forward up on the front wheel. And I was not trying to do that. I had my legs out. I was not trying to get thrown from the bike, bust my head open. So I was just like, I'm not catching up to anyone. I'm going to do whatever speed is comfortable for me. So that speed just happened to be about 25 miles per hour. So I'm just doing 25, minding my business. But it would have, in my opinion, it would have been better if we were like on a closed course or like going around the beach on like a boardwalk or something. But that was not the case. We were in the middle of traffic in Nassau, Bahamas, like in the heart of the city. Anyone who has ever been there, you'll know how hectic it is. Like when you're trying to come from either side of the island to get to Atlantis and you come through that city, like where there's shops and there's people. Mind you, there's no speed limit in Nassau. The first time I came there, that's the first thing my taxi driver said to me. I left the airport, I got in my taxi, and he's doing 100 to the hotel. And I'm just like, I'm not in a rush. And he's like, oh yeah, there's no speed limits here. There's speed limits where you're from, right? I'm like, yeah. So there's no speed limits here. We're in the middle of traffic with people honking, speeding around me. We got public transportation buses. I don't know why there were 18-wheelers in the middle of the city, but there were tractor trailers like making deliveries and stuff. So I'm just riding along, got my dog strapped across my chest, my helmet on top of my ponytail, smashing it into my head, and people are just tailgating me. So it's just getting worse and worse by the minute. So I'm like, you know what, let me just hang in here. Because the whole time in my head, I'm thinking there was some sort of plan. I'm like, okay, this sucks, but we're on our way to the beach, or we're on our way to like a restaurant on the beach, something involving the beach. Apparently they had no plans to go anywhere. They just wanted to speed through the city. So I'm just riding along. I get cut off by an 18-wheeler. Public transportation bus goes around me. Another bus goes around me. I don't even know where my family is at this point. And I don't care. I'm just worried about being safe. And I got Harlow on the back. I'm like, whatever. No cell phone service or anything. So now I'm in the middle of Nassau riding a moped by myself 30 miles per hour alone. So finally, traffic clears. People are like, I'm on the main street and cars are like trying to come out and they're just cutting in front of me. Like, I'm afraid to hit these brakes too hard because I do not want to be thrown forward. So I'm just like, whatever. So traffic finally clears up. Then they had all pulled over and started waiting for me. So we catch up and I'm just like, it's all over my face. I'm not feeling it. And my dad's like, ha ha ha, you need a drink. Ha ha ha.
Really, nigga?
Like, I don't even want to do this. At this point, I've been smashed between 18-wheelers. We're all the way on the other side of the island. I thought we were going to go for a little tour of the city. No, we just head straight to the other side of the island. We actually ended up at the hotel where I stayed last time I went to Bahamas. So we turn around. I'm like, whatever, let them have fun. I'm like, okay, so I'm getting the hang of this. And we're actually like on the way back. The way the road is set up, the road back brought us past the beach. So I'm like, okay, it's a nice little view of the beach here. So I'm just trying to chill. And then we actually started seeing other like tourists and people on the things. We're like beeping, hi, hey, everyone's having fun. So I'm like, okay, I can get used to this. My dog starts having a fit. She starts like trying to she's busting her head like this up against her bag and just trying to like put her face out, see what's going on. So I'm like trying to swerve out of traffic carefully, find somewhere to pull over where it's, because there's no like side roads, but find somewhere safe to pull over where I can strap her back in, but I'm not just stopping in traffic. So I fix her in the bag. She's just not feeling it. I put her back on. I'm like, all right, whatever, let's just keep going. Right down the street. Slowly, just hanging in there, and I feel like sprinkles of like water sprinkling on me. So I'm like, oh, that's nice. A little water from the beach. It's getting me a little hydrated. It's mainly on my legs, not on my face. So I feel sprinkles, and then I'm like, it just keeps coming, but I don't see any water in the air or where it could be coming from, because even though I was near the beach, I was still in the middle of the street riding. So the water's sprinkling. I'm like, this not adding up. I looked down, and so it was pee. So Harlow had got so nervous, or maybe she just had to pee, that she just peed in her carry bag. Because at that point, I had turned her to the front so that I can keep an eye on her while I was riding. She peed in her bag, and it's just trickling all down and just blowing in the wind, because I'm going 30, all down my legs into my water shoes. So now my water shoes are soaking wet. I'm hot. They're hot and sweaty and just moist. And I was just like, no. So I'm just beeping the horn, trying to tell. My brothers were long gone. Don't know where they went. But my dad and my mom were in front of me. So I'm beeping the horn like, pull over, pull over. So we pull over. I'm like, Harlow just peed all over me. This is not working. I'm like, she's busting out of the thing. I'm like, I'm just going to go back to the ship. So they're like, all right, let's at least get somewhere where we're safe and catch up to the boys so we can all, figure out what we're going to do. So we go catch up to them in the middle of the city. So they're like, my parents are like, Sasha wants to go back. So no one wants me to leave, obviously. So they're like, why do you want to leave? Are you uncomfortable? Let's just go back and get you a 4-wheeler. It's no problem, blah, blah, blah. At this point, I'm just like, I'm upset that I got peed on, but I'm more so worried about Harlow, because she keeps doing her head like this and busting out of the bag. And then she's so small, it's so easy for her to squeeze through any pocket. She's like hanging out of the bag, trying to see what's going on. So I'm like, no, I thought we were going to the beach. What are we doing? This was not in the plans. I'm going to go back, wait for you guys to, because mind you, I left out the most important part. They were racing through the streets. My dad and my 2 brothers, they were on 3 4-wheelers. They were racing each other, like doing, like, I'm not even kidding, 90 through the streets, talking about they wanted to see how fast it could go and who would win. So they're like speeding through traffic, dipping through cars, running red lights, racing each other. I'm just like, I see you guys are enjoying yourselves. So I'm going to let you finish. I will be waiting safely, and when you guys are done, we can figure out what we're going to do for the rest of the day. So they're like, all right, bet, let's go back. You would think the fact that we're on our way back and they know that we're losing one out of the caravan, they would just take it nice and easy and go back. No. Kick of testosterone, kick of adrenaline, I don't know what it was. They start racing through the actual inner city. We're not by the beach anymore, like by where all the shops are. So I'm just like, this is ridiculous. So I just stay behind them. They cut down a one-way. I'm like, okay, I can be driving Miss Daisy, but at this point, I really don't know where I am, because of the way we went. Sense of direction, I guess, is not that great at this point, because I just have too many things going on. So I'm like, if they leave me, I may be lost. So they cut down the street, so I'm trying to catch up to them, and I cut down the street. Cars are beeping. Burr, burr, burr. We went down a one-way. So now I'm just pissed, because they just whipping around on their 4-wheelers. I'm on this little bike, so I'm like, because you can't accelerate backwards. You have to move it with your feet. So I'm inching back, turning around. I still got Harlow sitting on my lap. Still got piss in my water shoes. So we back up around them one way. They just think it's the funniest, coolest thing ever. Oh, ho, ho, we went down to one way. That was so funny. Did you guys see that? So I turn around, I catch up to them. We get past the one way, they bust a left, they go to a light, and they run the red light. All 3 of them. So it's cars and traffic, and this lady's hanging out the car. It's a car full of people, and they're like, you can't run the red light. You can't run the red light. So I'm like, but then I'm like, I'm about to get left. So I'm like, I'm about to run this red light. Turn the light. Just when I thought it couldn't get any worse. So I turn and run the light, and I didn't hear anyone say anything. My brother, who was in front of me, claims that he heard someone say, hey, hey, hey. So he hits his brakes on his 4-wheeler. Now, mind you, I'm hot on his tail trying to keep up with them. I crash into the back of the 4-wheeler. So it was just so loud because like how it happened, because I was trying to brake, like the front cover of my bike got caught on the back of his wheel, and it just was like it was just so loud, and I'm just like, everyone's look, I just felt like the whole world stopped. So I'm just like, oh my effing goodness, because I had just signed a waiver where I rented this bike saying liability only. If you cause injury to someone, if you cause injury to yourself, you're assed out. And if you bust up the bike, you're up the creek without a paddle. So I just signed this thing, and I'm just like, not even 15 minutes later, I just crashed this damn bike. And I'm pissed because I already didn't want to spend $150 on a four-wheeler. So what makes you think I want to spend $600 on a bike? So I'm just like, let's just go. I hear somebody. So he pulls off, I pull off. I hear someone go, hey. At this point, I'm not stopping anymore. The lady in the car was yelling at me. I'm crashing the bike. I don't know what they're yelling hey about. And my parents and my other brother were gone, completely gone. Didn't even know me and my other brother had a crash. So we pull off, and I hear somebody yelling, hey. I'm like, I'm out, whatever. So we meet up with me and my brother meet up with my other brother around the corner. I guess he realized we weren't behind him. And he's just looking at the bike. He's like, oh. So they were trying to like pull over and like discuss it. And I'm like,
Let's go. I want to leave.
So we pull off, go get down the street, whatever, get back to the port where we rented the bikes from, and pull up in there. And I'm just pulling and feeling defeated. Mind you, this all has happened within like 20 minutes. It just went from me leaving the ship to all of this just constantly escalating within 20 minutes. So I pull up, and the guy who rented it to me, he's like, oh man. He's like, what happened? He's like, what happened? So they're gathering around. We're talking about what happened. I'm just pissed because I can yell. Everyone's not riding anymore. So I'm like, you did this and you did that, and this was your idea, and you guys are speeding, you think it's funny, and blah blah blah. You sitting here laughing. Now we got in a crash. So my parents didn't even know that me and my brother had crashed. So my mom's just all worried. She's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. So long story short, we get up to the booth. And FYI, spoiler, the story gets worse. So we get up to the booth. I pay the money. It ended up being like $155 because it was like the plastic part that covers the wheel was like cracked off. So I paid the $155, whatever. I really didn't even care at that point. But it got worse than having to pay. So everyone's like, I'm sorry, Sasha. They're like, oh, that's messed up. If you want, I'll give you the money back for it, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, at that point, I didn't care. It was not about the money. It was just like, I'm glad to be off of this thing. That's how traumatized I was and how traumatized Harla was in her bag. So we pay it, and a ruckus just erupts out of nowhere. So this is when the police get involved. Some lady dressed like a sailor comes over, and she's like, this is her right here. And I'm like, excuse me? So my dad and my brothers had come over to where my mom and I were standing, where I had just paid for the bike. And she starts flipping on them. She's like, why did you two just tell me that you don't know who I'm talking about, and this is her right here? I'm like, gay? Me? So she's like, I don't even know what she was saying. She was going 100 miles an hour. She's like, you all ran the red light, and I told you to stop, and you didn't stop for a police officer, and we had to chase you down and write them all tickets. And she was just on 10. So I'm like, I'm sorry, who are you again? Long story short, it turns out that she is the cause for the crash. When my brother ran the red light, he said he heard someone saying, hey. Turns out it was that lady. She stopped because he had run the red light and he was supposed to. And I guess they have police officers on foot out there because, like I told you, it's like a really busy tourist attraction area. So he's saying that he stopped for her, and that's when I crashed into him. And he said that she was just like, oh, and didn't say anything. So he didn't know who she was. He took off, I took off, and that's when I heard her yelling, hey. Mind you, not once did she say stop, Not once did she say police. None of that. She's just talking about hey, 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 like she's Fat Albert. So how was I supposed to know to stop? I kept going. So she comes over on 10. She's like, all of them. She's like, detain all of them. Tickets, tickets, tickets. She's like, you get a ticket, you get a ticket, you get a ticket. All y'all ran the red light. What's wrong with you? You think you could just come through here and do whatever you want, driving like that? Just going crazy. So now a guy, I guess she had like a male counterpart. So now the guy comes over and he starts getting in my face. So that was just the worst thing they could have done. The guy steps in my face. Both my brothers and my dad, shirts off, looking like Tupac. It just starts getting crazy. So everybody's like bucking up against him. My brother done put his fist in the man's chest and is like backing him up. And the guy's like, don't put your hands on me. Take your hands off me. Don't you put your hands on me. So I'm just like, oh my God, now's my youngest brother. I'm like, please, God, don't let my brother get arrested. I told him, back up, don't do it. Now everybody yelling, my mom's going crazy. And I'm just the only one that's like, just like, at this point, I'm like,
Shoot me.
the male officer steps to me. He's like, let's go. Come on, you going with me. And my dad was not having it. He's like, she's not going anywhere. And the rest of my family's like, no, she's not going with you anywhere. So it starts getting crazy. I'm yelling, mom's yelling, near the cops are yelling, my brother's yelling, pushing. I'm just like, this is crazy. So then some older lady who I found out that she was like the ambassador of the entire port for all the ships got involved. She's coming over. She's like, just tell me, please just calm down, calm down. Your mom's going to handle it. Like, just step aside, step aside. I'm like, I'm not stepping anywhere. I was right here at the counter. You know, I just paid. That's what we were trying to tell them. Like, the cops just came over on 10. We're like, we handled everything. We paid for it. No one was running from the cops. They tried to make it seem like it was a high-speed chase, like we were trying to get away. Number one, we didn't even know that the cops were even present. All I heard was someone say, hey, hey, hey. They claimed that they had to chase us down. I didn't know they was chasing us. And more importantly, we came right here to the port. It's not like we hopped on a plane and, you know, they're acting like we held up a bank and now we're trying to make an escape and get back to the U.S. We're right here. We pulled right in here because we did not know the police were there at all. So their narrative was, oh, you know, I crashed something up and I was running from the cops. I was not running from the cops. Didn't even know that she was a police officer. Again, all I heard was someone say, hey. So the lady from the port gets involved. She's like, please just calm down because it was so heated. Like, I just knew we were going to jail. And you ever know something is just getting worse and worse and worse, but you can't contain it. Like, it's nothing you can do. I just felt it getting worse and worse, and just tensions were high. Everyone was irritated. It was hot. We had no shirts on, riding dirt bikes. The cops were yelling. So I was just like, at this point, F it. I was like, I know we about to get arrested, but I'm going to make my point to this lady because now she got me messed up. Coming over here, getting in my face, yelling. So I'm yelling back at her. I'm trying to make my point. I'm like, I didn't even know you were the police. You never said police. You never said stop. All you yelled was hey, 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 and you know it. You didn't have to chase me down. I came right here, parked the bike, and paid for it. You just came over here and escalated tensions for no reason. Like, you're taking a bad situation and making it worse. Even just now when you walked up, you didn't even identify yourself. So my mom was just trying to make things better. She's like, listen, we didn't know. Clearly, they're saying they didn't know. I didn't even know that they had gotten in a crash until they arrived here. She's like, you know, we didn't know there were police out here where we're from. Police, you know, they dress in like navy blue or tan and they have badges and guns. You know, they're easily identified. I mean, you guys look like sailors. So I'm pissed. But at that point, I just couldn't even hold it in. I'm like, because I know my mom wasn't trying to be smart. She was just trying to help the situation. But I was just like, she just told these people they look like sailors. So the male is pissed. He's like, you know what? Just shut up because you're trying to be funny or you trying to be smart. And she's like, well, I'm not trying to be stupid. She's like, I'm just saying that we didn't know who you were. You guys are making things worse. So by this time, it's a big commotion. A lot of people at the shops around us are looking. And I think 2 more officers arrived, but these are like lieutenants. So there's a female and then there's a male. So the man was scary. I guess he, you know, was speaking to the other 2 people who had walked up yelling and like jumping in our face. And then the lady was really just trying to diffuse the situation because the first lady who came up, they had the ticket books out. They're like, write them tickets. I'm just like, so my stepdad's like, ain't nobody gonna pay for no ticket. Ain't nobody getting no tickets today because we ain't do nothing. So then the second female officer, who I guess was more like a lieutenant, she came over and she's just really trying to get the story, because if you think about it, it's my whole family, which is 5 of us, plus the other 2 cops. Everyone's yelling at each other. The cops weren't only yelling at us, they were yelling at the owners of the little rental stand. They're like, give me her ID, give me her passport. I didn't have an ID, so I only gave the lady a copy of my passport to write down. And technically, the lady kind of did me a favor. She was just like, don't worry about it. I'll just write down your info from your passport. So no, she's like, so now the cop is like, give me her driver's license. I'm like, I don't have a driver's license. So she's yelling at the owners of the stand, you just renting bikes to anybody? Is that what's going on? Okay, so now give me your license to operate this business. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. She's like, who's the owners of these stands? I need to get them. They need to get down here right now. So now I feel terrible because the girl who rented me the bike, she's getting in trouble. I'm just like, and then the scary male lieutenant, he comes over. He's like, listen, in a very low tone. So now she's getting in trouble. He tells her, like, I'm going to tell you this right now. This business is not to be run in this manner. He's like, anyone who comes here to rent a bike, they have to have a license. We cannot have anyone not submitting their driver's license getting on this road out here. It's a danger to the people. It's a danger to those who are riding the bikes. It's not supposed to happen. So I'm just like, oh my God. He's like, who's the owners of this stand? I'm like, this girl's about to lose her job because of me. I'm already upset that I just crashed this bike. I'm on vacation. I'm supposed to be having fun. I had to pay for this crash bike, and now here you come talking about I was fleeing the scene of a crime. Like, so the lieutenant female comes over. She's trying to get the story. She's like, everyone just calm down. All of us are yelling at each other. She doesn't know what's going on. So finally I explained to her what happened, and she's like, just by the sound of but the whole time that we're trying to explain to her what's going on, the first 2 cops who arrived are still antagonizing us, like just trying to start something with us. So I'm literally in the middle of my brothers and my dad like this, just pushing them back, like, please. Because the number one fear in my head was, if someone swings right now, we all gotta swing. We all swing, we getting locked up. We don't got no cell service. Like, who's gonna come bail us out of jail in the Bahamas? Who? So I'm like, please, God, I know we're all arguing, but I'm like, please don't let anybody swing, because you never know when it's going to come. So I'm in between them, pushing them back. I'm like, please, everyone just stop. Because this lady who arrived, the lieutenant, she really was just trying to understand what's going on. So she's not having it. She gets pissed. She's like, she just put everyone in their place. She starts barking. She's like, stop it, everyone stop it. So finally I explained to her what's going on. When she finally got the story, she's like, you know what? Don't worry about anything. Everyone, let's just, let's just call all this foolishness quits. It sounds like it was a big misunderstanding. You weren't going anywhere because clearly you came right back here with the bike. You didn't try to run. You returned it to the owners. You paid for everything. It just seems to me like it was a big misunderstanding, which it was, because I told them, listen, that police officer needs more training. How's she going to yell, hey, hey, hey to someone and think that I'm supposed to? She didn't even identify herself. It's not that I was running from her. I didn't even know who she was. I didn't even turn around to look at her, because at that point I was flustered. I was already uncomfortable on the bike. I had just crashed and I'm in a foreign place, and there were people yelling hey at me, all this, people whistling at me, trying to sell me stuff. So how was I supposed to know that she's a police officer? So the lieutenant said, fine, everyone go back to your seats, basically. Let's just be done with this. And I'm just like, I'm going back to the ship. This is it. At this point, like, it was too much for me. It was too much for me to handle. I may be hypersensitive. I may be melodramatic, but I just was not feeling it, because I am just a big believer of, like, when bad things continuously happen, don't keep trying to force whatever it is that's getting in between you and that thing. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm trying to ride this bike, but it's too many things happening to prevent me from riding the bike. So the workers at the shop had brought me a new bike. They're like, here, because I had only been on it for 20 minutes and the rental was for the day. So they're like, here's a new one. You can go with your family. I'm like, oh, hell no. I don't know what I'm about to do, but I know what I will not do, and I will not be back on that bike. They're like, are you sure? The guy was really nice. He was so sweet. He's like, I don't want you to feel bad, because this happens all the time. People always crash these things. So It's not that bad. You could just have another one, you know, go enjoy your vacation. I'm like, vacation done. Later on that day, when I finally decided to like come off the ship, and I ate or whatever, and I was just walking around, I had gone back by the stand, and there was like a guy dressed in military clothes. He was like, "Hey, Sasha." I'm like, "Hi." He's like, "Oh yeah, your family, they returned their bikes or whatever, but they just went walking that way, and your brothers, and what did he say? Oh, and they didn't have their shirts on, so I don't think they're coming back anytime soon." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So at this point, I'm like, "How the hell does this man know my name?" He's like, "Yeah, what happened earlier? I'm just so sorry to see that have happened to you. Like, they just handled that all wrong. It was terrible. It was so unprofessional." I'm like, now I'm famous at the damn port with the Army and the Navy and everybody else. Oh my God. I don't even know how to close this. That's what had happened. Well, I do know how to close this. Thank God we were not actually taken to jail abroad, but we were detained by police. Damn near got arrested. Thank you so much, guys, for hanging out and for watching. Again, if you are a returning subscriber, I am so glad to have you. And if you are new here, don't forget to click the subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you will know when I post more of my ratchet experiences like this, because there's plenty more where that came from. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.